Welcome back to Hangout Introductions. Today I'm going to be summarizing the dumpster fire of unneedingly complicatedness, aka of the Middle Ages, aka feudalism. This is the kingdom, fictitious kingdom, may I add, of Bohemia. And great, it's been invaded by the new king, um, Heinrich the 51st, I'm guessing. So the So Heinrich the 51st decides because he doesn't want them to, the people who helped him become king, revolt. He gives many of the highest ranking ones chunks of lands. Now it depends on what part of Europe this was in, which gave a bunch of different titles like Duke, Marquis, Count. Um, that would be like right below the king, and even though some titles are technically below it, I'll explain that on the next slide. But so he would give big chunks of land and to some of his highest ranking leaders. There's so the so Heinrich the 51st decides because he doesn't want them to, the people who helped him become king, revolt. He gives many of the highest ranking ones chunks of lands. Now it depends on what part of Europe this was in, which gave a bunch of different titles like Duke, Marquis, Count. Um, that would be like right below the king, and even though some titles are technically below it, I'll explain that on the next slide. But so he would give big chunks of land and to some of his highest ranking leaders. And some of those dukes, for example, for a title, would give land to lower to some of their soldiers or knights. Again, this video is going to mainly cover nobles. I'm going to do later videos on like the clergy, and another one on knights and commoners, and maybe one on the merchant class. But which some were knights, and also some nobles were knighted. Just putting that out before I go any further. So that red one with like the stripes, that could be a count, but there would also count to the one presented by that sparkly one. And that could just be like a duke. Could also be a count, because again, sometimes counts were just as powerful as dukes. Sometimes like it's very complex on the ranking system. But also note that they all people there was also, other than nobles leading revolts, sometimes there were revolts inside duchies by counts or like barons or other ranks. This and the names for these guys aren't widespread. Some, for example, England calls their counts earls, but this is just, or this is just a bunch of this different stuff. Now, this part is me talking about noble houses, which are probably the hardest and the weirdest part of feudalism. They essentially, noble houses are connected to what land they live in. And their symbolisms, for example, the Plantagenet, House Plantagenet, which is the lions and the flower, the French symbols, that's symbolism of them being kings, quote unquote, of France. But again, these noble houses often were attached to the land from where they were. So essentially, that's why you see these giant empires later on, in empires like the Habsburgs. Or it was intermarriage between many noble houses. There's great alliances, unite kingdoms. The Jagiellon dynasty is a good example of that last one, and that is a Polish dynasty that created Poland, Lithuania, if you didn't know, and 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 a lot later, mainly later in history, this there was a lot of inbreeding. It was mainly later, as larger empires meant there's less options, or that there were more of one house on a single on multiple thrones, so they kind of had to if they wanted to expand their influence. And not only noble houses have crests like these, some non-noble houses like the Washingtons, like as in George Washington, he has a crest, which is essentially the flag of Washington, D.C., which I think is hilarious. Okay, thank you for watching this video. This isn't really all of Europe. This is mostly like Western Europe, and again, the titles aren't always the same. But thank you for watching. Also, my brother has started a channel which is called Loco Chippy, so check that out. Bye.